The purpose of this video is to model how to program the PLU calculator. The video is going to be split into three parts. The first part is going to be just explaining how the actual calculator and the spreadsheet works. Part 2 is going to be about the tabs in the Excel spreadsheets and their purpose. And part 3 is I'm going to model how to add a new PLU item to the calculator. So for example, if you expand the menu, or a PLU number changes, that will show you and demonstrate how you would go about changing that in the future, so the calculator would work out the new menu items as well as the existing ones. So here is the PLU calculator in its current design. The user interface features 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs. The last one is a guidance and help section, which explains really clearly with the use of pictures how the managers would use it day in, day out. The tab before that is the caching up page. Managers might choose to do this. It will help hopefully speed up their caching up at the end of the night. Tab before that is where, as it says, you will paste the PLU that you download from Centegra as a CSV file, as an Excel spreadsheet, and paste it into here, making sure that the A1 from the downloaded spreadsheet goes into the A1 in this column, in this page. And then the stock controls are pretty self-explanatory. The additional pages that we've got, you can find by going to Format. It might be just off your screen here. Going to Sheets and then selecting Unhide. That will show you all the 3 sheets that are also hidden, 3 tabs that are hidden. So I'll select all those to open those back up. We'll have to do them one at a time. So by unhiding all of those, we'll see the full picture of how everything works. So the tabs are locked down. The password is Chilwell, all in capital letters. So we can unlock all of those. And unlock the other programming ones. And then as you can see, the 2 programming tabs house all of the PLU numbers and all the calculations and error checking columns. So what's happening on these is this tab here, as it says, is for the chips. So this works out all the chips, and then the second tab works out all the items. So this works out the actual stock controls for your fish, sausages, fish cakes, pies, etc. But there are some yellow cells. Yellow are the ones that you can edit. And the reason some of them are yellow and some of them are blank is because if you edit one of the yellow ones in, say for example, the chips tab, then it will automatically change it for you on the PLU items one. So if you, for example, the product number changes for module 6, if you change it where it's highlighted in yellow, I'll show you an example here. I could just type hello. Hello will automatically appear on the other sheet for you, because the formula is just pulling it from the other spreadsheet, from the other tab. So that makes it a lot easier when you're changing things. There's 2 main columns. You've obviously got your PLU codes, which is just taken directly from Centegra and F&B. The quantity sold uses an index match, so it's saying it's looking for the pasted PLU that you've downloaded from Centegra from cell G1, column G1, all the way down to G302, and it's matching the PLU code that you've put in. So in this case, MILDEW 1 600. So it's going to find 600 and it's going to say, right, what is the corresponding quantity in column C for that product 600, which is a small fish meal. And then it'll pop the number in there. If they haven't sold any MILDEW ones, it'll be the NA. And the reason we have the error conversion is because if it's an NA, that's not a number that we can sort of deal with mathematically. So that this error conversion just says, it's just an if statement that if this value here in column S22 is NA, change it to a 0. If it's not, then just keep it as the same number that it is. So moving on to part 2 of this video, I've already touched on a lot of what the tabs are and what their purpose are, how they serve in the process of the calculator doing its calculations, but I just want to cover a couple of other things. So here we've got the VacPack calculator. This is the behind the scenes programmer view, which we probably hide from shots because I've purposely left it so that when the worksheet is locked, you'll be able to alter, if you like, the actual weights. So if you decided that the raw weights were going to change of the chips, then you could alter it without actually having to have that unprotected sheet open, where you could have the possibility of you accidentally knocking one of the formulas out or deleting one of the formulas. So the only real thing you can edit on this is the raw weights of the chips without actually unlocking the sheet and unprotecting it. All this does is it just pulls the figures that are worked out from the PLU chips calculator. It just pulls those directly into here, so they're sold, and then the VACs used row just does the calculation. So for example, it does this divided by this, the weight times by the amount sold divided by 12,500, which gives you how many actual VAC packs you've used. And then at the end, it adds them all up, so a total of all of those, and then that figure is taken directly and plonked in the sold PLU for your potatoes. Obviously, Belper, it works the same way, but they're different, slightly different portion sizes, so they have a different column. But you don't really need to worry about much of this unless the weights change, because as you add items, it will just automatically calculate it for you. And we've already discussed about what this is. So you've got your 2 programmer tabs with all the PLU numbers in. One of them's for potatoes only, one of them's for individual items only, but it still has the meal deals on there. But in this case, on this sheet, because it's the items item calculator, although it's a meal deal with chips, we're just pulling the fish from here. We're not worried about the chips, the peas, or anything else. So the final part of this video, part 3, I'm going to model now how you would add a new PLU item to the calculator. So this might be if you add a new, I don't know, a new pie range comes in, you've got new offers, anything really. You might have a new burger that's been introduced to Chilwell, or anything really. The example I'm going to use in this and use to model how we'd change and reprogram the calculator is I'm going to use the February offer, but obviously it'll be a spoof because I'm not quite sure of the product number for February just yet. So this is something that we'll have to change before February 2019 offer goes live, if shops are using it by then. And so I'm going to say that the February offer, the product code for takeaway is, I don't know, 1991. 1991. So once I've got that, I've worked that out by going on to Centegra, looking at the PLU, or doing a search on F&B for the February offer, and working out that, yep, it's 1991, and this year it's 2 meal deal ones. So 2 times small fish, chips and peas. So once I have that information, I need to go to the programmer tabs, which I've already unhid from when we first started the video. So I'm going to start with the chips because it's a meal, so it's often easier to start programming the chip tab first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what I've got already, and if it fits in anywhere. So I'm looking for anything with small fish meal. So I could either put it in meal deal 1, I could change it up to Feb offer and put it in there, or keep going, or I've actually already got one here, look, so offer 2 small card meal deal. So all I do is pop my spoof product code in, 1991, and then I just double check that that has rolled over, been input in the items tab as well, and it has. There we go, it's pulled it directly from what I've just put in. So the next thing to make sure is that this here is actually being picked up in the sums. To do that, we know that in this case it's the February offer, it's 2 small meal deal ones, so it's going to be picking up, or it should be picking up, a small chip. So we're going to double tap on there, which highlights all the areas and all the meals that it's pulling a small chips from. So we go across, and yeah, so this is pulling the total of all these offers. In this case, we've only obviously got one in here, but if there was different product codes, because at Alice Tree 1991 was the offer, in Long Eaton 1992 was the February offer, and then in Chilwell 1993 was the February offer, then that would, the purpose of having the total is so that it's a standard calculator for all the shops. We're not going to have to keep reprogramming it 7 different times for 7 different shops. So because that's highlighted, we know that that small chips is now going to be pulled from that meal. So we can hit enter and keep that as it is. If it wasn't, then all we need to do is just, again, double tap and add it in. Add it as a plus, and then choose the column that we need to add on. So to double check the items, what we need to do, same principle. This time though, instead of pulling the small chips from the meal, we're just pulling the small cod. So we're going to need to check that the small cod is definitely being pulled from the meal as we want it to. So we'll go to mini, double click, and here again it highlights all the places where it's pulling a mini fish. Go across, and yep, so it's already programmed to pull that mini fish from these meals here. If it wasn't, then inside the brackets again we just add a plus, tap the cell we want to add, for example, and hit enter. Obviously we don't want to do that. Okay, so it's as easy as that really. Then we test it, just double check that what we think we've programmed it to do, it is actually doing. When you paste in a PLU, for example, let me just find one. So here is one of Chiral's PLUs. If we paste this in to the calculator, paste it in here, cell A1, then we can go to the programming tab, and now you can start to see the numbers that correspond to Chirwell are starting to populate themselves now. So there's 10 Meal 4s, there's 8 Challenge 6s sold, there's 24 Go Larger Peas, 5 Go Larger Curries, etc, etc. Okay, and because this is obviously a spoof product number, it doesn't actually exist, the 1991 is not pulling anything through. If we were doing this for real and 1991 did actually correspond to a number and we're in February and we knew we'd sold some of the offers, then because there's no value in there, we'd know that something was wrong. So that's how you check that what you think you've programmed has actually worked. Alternatively, if the new product that you're wanting to add is something that's not going to directly pull off your, it's not directly going to contribute to your stock control sheet, so the actual items. So if it's not on this list, any of your fish, any sausages, any of your fish cakes, any of your pies or puddings, then it's really quite simple to add it on, because all you're going to be doing, if it is one of your new burger meals that you're adding to the line, you're just going to be pulling the chips off it. So all you need to worry about is adding it to the chips calculator. And the cheap way of doing it really is to find a product where you know nothing else is being pulled from it on any other page. So for example, you could find a meal deal 8, because you know that we don't count chicken nuggets on our stock controls, so there's nothing else being pulled from that. So if you wanted to do it the cheap way and you wanted to change one of the nuggets meal deal 8s to, I don't know, new burger, and then pop your product number in, then it's not really going to affect anything, because we don't ever calculate the items, we don't ever calculate the sold figures for nuggets, so it's only ever going to be pulling a chip. So that's the cheap way of doing it without having to go into reprogramming any of these and adding things in. If you wanted to do it properly, the proper way, then you can either use one of the spare lines that I've left. So rename spare new burger. Then put your product number in. And then if it's something that you're gonna add to the product stock control sheet, then obviously you need to bring it over to this one. But in this case, we're just doing it as theoretically, we're just pulling chips off it, so it only needs to be on here. And then we'd need to add in, make sure that we double tap the small chips, click add, and just make sure that the total there is added on. So that just involves a very simple bit of reprogram of how it's working out the chips and where it's pulling those figures from. And it's as simple as that, really. I hope it's going to save people time, and I hope people adopt it. Thank you.